Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and fellow dreamer, it's incredible to stand before you today and talk about something that's so essential to who we are, self-confidence. But before we even dive into it, I want to ask you one simple question. How many of you truly believe in yourself? I'm not talking about the kind of belief where you simply say, I can do this, but the deep, unwavering kind of belief that even when the world tells you no, you stand tall and say, I am capable. Let me share something from my journey. There was a time in my life when I felt small, invisible, and uncertain. Life came crashing down in ways I hadn't imagined. I faced pain, loss, and moments where I couldn't see a way forward. But I learned something profound in those dark times. The strength to rise doesn't come from the world around you. It comes from the fire within you. Confidence isn't about never falling. It's about standing up after you do. Confidence is not some magical trait that a few people are born with. It's a muscle that you can build. It starts with one small step, believing that you deserve better, believing that you are worthy of the life you dream of, believing that no failure is ever permanent and no mistake defines you. So often, we limit ourselves. We listen to the voices that tell us we aren't enough, whether those voices are inside our heads or outside in the world. But let me tell you this, those voices, they don't get to decide who you are. You decide that. I know it's not easy. It takes courage to look in the mirror and see yourself not as a reflection of your doubts, but as someone with infinite potential. And it takes courage to keep walking, even when you're unsure of where the path leads. But that's where true growth happens, in the spaces where fear meets courage. When you start believing in your own abilities, you stop waiting for permission. You stop doubting your worth. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you don't belong. And instead, you begin to step into the light of your own potential. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to trust that you are capable of figuring it out along the way. Every challenge, every setback, every failure, it's a lesson that teaches you resilience. A lesson that teaches you to stand up, dust off your knees, and move forward with your head held high. Confidence doesn't come from always being right. It comes from knowing that you are strong enough to keep going no matter what. So today, I want to challenge you to do something. Look in the mirror and say these words with me. I am enough. I am worthy. I am capable. I want you to take those words with you into your day, your week, your life. Let them be your reminder that the most important voice you should listen to is your own. Because when you believe in yourself, there is nothing in this world that can stop you from becoming the person you were always meant to be. Believe in your worth. Embrace that you deserve the life you dream of. There is an undeniable power in believing that you are worthy. It sounds simple, but for many of us, it's one of the most difficult truths to accept. Our world is filled with messages that tell us we must prove ourselves, prove our value, prove our worth, earn our place. From a young age, we are conditioned to think that our value is something that must be validated by external sources. Our achievements, our looks, our behavior, the way we speak, and even the way we carry ourselves are constantly scrutinized. We start measuring our worth by comparisons, by the expectations others place upon us, and by the successes or failures we accumulate along the way. However, the truth is, you are worthy simply because you exist. There is no checklist, no requirement, no standard you need to meet to deserve love, respect, success, or happiness. The moment we begin to acknowledge and embrace our intrinsic worth, we take the first step toward freedom. Freedom from the judgments of others and freedom from our own doubts. But how do we believe this when everything around us constantly challenges our self-worth? How do we come to accept that we are deserving of everything we desire, especially when life can feel like a constant struggle, full of setbacks, disappointments, and moments that make us question our abilities? The key lies in understanding that self-worth is not something you earn, it's something you affirm. The difference between the two is subtle but crucial. When you believe that your worth is something that must be earned, you are constantly chasing it. You're always trying to prove to others and to yourself that you deserve to be loved, respected, or successful. But when you affirm your worth, you stop chasing, you stop doubting, you stop trying to prove anything to anyone, including yourself. Instead, you simply recognize that you are enough, just as you are. This kind of belief doesn't come from external validation. It doesn't come from compliments, awards, or accolades. It doesn't come from being chosen or being recognized. It comes from the deep understanding that you are enough in your own right. You don't need to do anything, achieve anything, or change anything about yourself to be worthy. You are worthy simply because you exist in this world with all your complexities, quirks, imperfections, and dreams. But embracing this truth is not always easy, especially when life doesn't feel fair. Sometimes we face challenges that make us feel less than or unworthy. We may experience rejection, failure, or criticism that wounds our self-esteem. We may encounter people who tell us that we're not enough or that we don't fit the mold of what they think we should be. It's easy to let those external voices define us. It's easy to believe that we aren't enough when we don't meet certain expectations or when things don't go as planned. It's important to remember that external circumstances do not define your worth. Your worth is not dependent on what happens to you or how people treat you. It is not dependent on the standards that society sets or on how successful you are by the world's measures. It is not even dependent on how many times you stumble or fall. Your worth is something that exists within you, regardless of the conditions or circumstances that surround you. One of the most profound ways to begin believing in your worth is to change your internal dialogue. Most of us are our own harshest critics. We berate ourselves for our mistakes, criticize ourselves for not being good enough, and let our failures dictate how we feel about ourselves. If we fail, we think we're failures. If we make a mistake, we label ourselves as imperfect or incapable. But this negative self-talk only perpetuates the belief that we are unworthy of success, love, or happiness. Instead, try to replace that inner criticism with self-compassion. Start by being kind to yourself. Remind yourself that making mistakes is a natural part of life and it doesn't make you any less valuable. Recognize that you are constantly growing and evolving, and every experience, whether it's a success or a failure, adds value to your journey. Embrace the idea that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love, respect, and success. You can be imperfect, flawed, and still completely worthy of everything you dream of. Another way to start believing in your worth is to set boundaries. Often we allow others to dictate our worth by letting them treat us in ways that are unkind or disrespectful. We may tolerate toxic relationships, stay in environments that drain our energy, or accept behavior from others that undermines our self-esteem. But the moment we set boundaries, we send a powerful message to the world. I know my worth, and I will not tolerate being treated any less than I deserve. Setting boundaries isn't about being harsh or unkind. It's about protecting your peace and recognizing that you deserve to be treated with kindness, respect, and fairness. It's about understanding that you don't need to justify your worth to anyone. You don't need to prove that you deserve to be treated with decency. You already deserve that by simply being yourself. In addition to setting boundaries, it's important to surround yourself with people who affirm your worth. Too often, we allow toxic people into our lives, people who belittle us, criticize us, or make us feel like we're not enough. These negative influences can reinforce the belief that we aren't worthy of good things or of healthy relationships. But when you surround yourself with positive, supportive individuals, people who uplift you and remind you of your potential, you create an environment where your worth is affirmed, not questioned. When you believe in your worth, you start to make decisions that align with your values and desires. Rather than out of fear or insecurity, you begin to make choices that honor your needs and protect your well-being. You no longer compromise your happiness or self-respect in exchange for validation or acceptance. Instead, you stand firm in your beliefs and act in a way that reflects your inherent value. Believing in your worth doesn't mean that you won't face challenges. It doesn't mean that you will never feel discouraged or unsure of yourself. There will be moments of doubt, moments when life throws curveballs and shakes your confidence. But when you believe in your worth, you learn to rise above those moments. You remind yourself that setbacks are temporary and that your worth is not defined by your circumstances. You begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth, not as indicators of failure. True self-worth also comes from learning to accept yourself, flaws and all. It's about recognizing that you are not defined by your mistakes, your past, or your shortcomings. You're defined by your capacity for growth, your ability to love, and your strength to keep moving forward. No matter what you've gone through, no matter what you've experienced, you are worthy of happiness, success, and peace. The more you practice believing in your worth, the more you will begin to attract the things that are aligned with that belief. The universe has a funny way of reflecting back the energy you put out into the world. When you believe in your worth, you naturally start to make choices that are aligned with your highest good. You attract relationships that nourish you, opportunities that challenge you, and experiences that help you grow. And the most beautiful part of this journey is that your worth is infinite. It is not something that can be diminished by external circumstances or other people's opinions. Your worth cannot be measured by your achievements or your failures. It simply is. It is a constant, unchanging truth that exists within you. No matter what. So, take a moment to reflect on your own worth. Recognize that you are not here by accident. You are worthy of every good thing life has to offer. You deserve love, happiness, success, and peace. You deserve to follow your dreams, to be your authentic self, and to live a life that reflects your value. Believe in your worth, and everything else will begin to fall into place. Confidence is built, it's a muscle that grows with practice, not a natural gift. Confidence is something many of us admire in others, but often feel is elusive to us. We watch someone walk into a room, speak with ease, take on challenges without hesitation, and we wonder, how do they do it? It's easy to assume that confidence is something people are born with, a natural trait that some just have more of than others. But the truth is, confidence isn't something that is innate. It's something that we develop over time. It's a skill, a muscle that we strengthen the more we use it. Just like any muscle in your body, the more you work on it, the stronger it becomes. When we think about building confidence, we often look for quick fixes, hoping to find a magic answer that will instantly change how we feel about ourselves. But confidence doesn't work like that. It's not something that can be achieved in an instant. Instead, it's something we develop gradually through our actions, our thoughts, and our experiences. Every time we take a step outside our comfort zone, every time we face a fear, every time we challenge the doubts in our minds, we're strengthening that muscle of confidence. One of the first steps in building confidence is understanding that it's okay to not be confident at first. Many people feel they need to be naturally good at something or be instantly confident to even try it, but that's a myth. Confidence doesn't come immediately, and it doesn't appear out of nowhere. It starts with taking the first step. Even if it feels uncomfortable or intimidating. You might not feel confident at first, and that's perfectly normal. The key is to push through that discomfort and keep moving forward. Each small action you take, even when you feel unsure, is an opportunity to build your confidence. Think about learning to ride a bike. At first, it's difficult. You're unsure of your balance, scared of falling, and probably a bit hesitant. But with practice, you gradually get better. Each time you pedal, you gain more control, more skill, and eventually you can ride without thinking about it. Confidence works the same way. The first time you try something new, whether it's speaking in front of others, trying a new job, or tackling a challenging situation, it may feel overwhelming, but as you continue to practice, your confidence grows. And just like with riding a bike, it eventually becomes second nature. Another key part of building confidence is learning to embrace failure as part of the process. When you're trying to build any skill, you're going to encounter setbacks. You might stumble, make mistakes, or experience moments of self-doubt. But these setbacks are not signs that you lack confidence. They are part of the journey. They are the moments when you learn, grow, and adjust. When you're able to reframe failure as a learning opportunity rather than something to fear, you start to build resilience. And resilience is a powerful component of confidence. The more you experience failure and bounce back from it, the more you realize that failure doesn't define you. You begin to understand that you are capable of overcoming setbacks. And this knowledge strengthens your belief in your ability. Another essential part of building confidence is the importance of self-talk. The way we speak to ourselves has a direct impact on how we feel about ourselves. If your inner voice is constantly telling you that you're not good enough, or that you'll never succeed, then it's going to be much harder to build confidence. On the other hand, if you start speaking to yourself with kindness and encouragement, you'll start to shift the way you perceive yourself and your capabilities. Instead of focusing on your flaws or mistakes, practice affirming your strengths and abilities. Remind yourself of the times you've succeeded, even in small ways. Positive self-talk helps build a foundation of confidence because it shifts your mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is also crucial for building confidence. When you're around people who support and believe in you, it becomes easier to believe in yourself. On the other hand, if you're surrounded by negativity, criticism, or people who constantly put you down, it can be much harder to build confidence. Find people who inspire you, who lift you up, and who encourage you to take risks and step outside of your comfort zone. Their belief in you will help reinforce your own belief in yourself. Confidence also grows through action. Confidence isn't just about thinking positively or wishing for success. It's about taking concrete steps toward your goals, even when you feel unsure. Each time you take action, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. The more you act, the more evidence you gather that you can handle challenges. You begin to see that you don't need to have all the answers or know everything right away. You just need to keep moving forward step by step and trust that you will figure it out along the way. Building confidence is also about setting small goals and achieving them. When we set goals that are too big or too overwhelming, it can feel discouraging when we don't accomplish them right away. But when we break those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps, we make progress. Each time we accomplish a small goal, it reinforces our belief in ourselves. These small wins add up over time and give us the momentum to tackle bigger challenges. Confidence is built by accumulating these successes, no matter how small they may seem. Patience is essential when building confidence. It's easy to get frustrated when you don't feel confident right away. But remember that confidence is something that grows with time. It's not a switch that you flip. It's a journey. Be patient with yourself and trust the process. The more you practice, the more you push yourself, the more you will see progress. Eventually, the confidence you've worked hard to build will start to feel natural, and it will become a part of who you are. You'll realize that you've built something strong, something unshakable, and that confidence will continue to serve you in every area of your life. It's important to remember that confidence is not about being perfect or always having everything together. It's about knowing that you are capable, that you can handle whatever life throws at you, and that you are worthy of success and happiness. Building confidence is not a destination. It's a lifelong practice. Every challenge, every fear you overcome, and every step you take outside your comfort zone is an opportunity to strengthen your confidence and grow as a person. Failure isn't final. Every setback is a lesson, not a definition of who you are. Failure is often viewed as something to avoid at all costs. We grow up hearing that failure is the opposite of success, that it's something to be ashamed of, and that we should do everything in our power to prevent it. From a young age, we're taught to aim for perfection, to meet expectations, and to never fall short. But what if I told you that failure is not the enemy of success, but a crucial part of the journey? What if I told you that failure does not define who you are, but rather it offers the opportunity for growth, learning, and transformation? The reality is that failure is an unavoidable part of life. We all face it. It doesn't matter how talented we are, how hard we work, or how prepared we feel. We will all experience setbacks. But what matters is how we respond to failure, how we perceive it, and what we do after we face it. Too many people let failure define them. They make it the end of their story instead of seeing it as a chapter in the larger narrative of their lives. But failure is never the final word. It is merely a pause, a moment to reflect, reassess, and rise again with greater wisdom and resilience. One of the most important things to remember is that failure is not a reflection of your worth or abilities. Just because you failed at something doesn't mean you are a failure. Failure is not a personal attack. It's simply part of the process of growth. It's a sign that you've taken a risk, stepped outside your comfort zone, and challenged yourself. If you've never failed, it's likely because you've never tried something that truly challenged you, something that made you question your limits. The most successful people in the world have faced failure countless times. What makes them successful is not their avoidance of failure, but their ability to rise from it, learn from it, and continue moving forward with renewed strength. When you experience failure, it's important to pause and reframe it. Instead of viewing it as a permanent setback, look at it as a lesson. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can this failure teach me that will help me do better next time? Failure is an incredible teacher. It shows you where your weaknesses lie, where your strategies need adjustment, and where your efforts may need to be redirected. It's in these moments of failure that we often uncover our greatest lessons, the things that help us improve, evolve, and grow stronger. Failure also builds resilience. It's easy to feel defeated when things don't go as planned, but each time you pick yourself up and try again, you are strengthening your resilience. Life is full of ups and downs, and the ability to persevere in the face of adversity is one of the most valuable qualities you can develop. When you face failure head-on, you become more adaptable. You learn how to cope with disappointment, manage frustration, and adjust your expectations. These are skills that are incredibly important, not just for success, but for personal growth. The more you fail and rise again, the more resilient you become. And resilience is a key ingredient for long-term success because it means that you can withstand challenges, continue learning, and keep moving forward despite obstacles. Another important aspect of dealing with failure is self-compassion. Often when we fail, we are quick to be harsh on ourselves. We criticize our actions, question our decisions, and make ourselves feel like we're not good enough. But self-compassion is essential for healing and growth. When you're kind to yourself in moments of failure, you allow yourself the space to reflect and learn without being weighed down by shame or guilt. It's important to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend who is going through a tough time. Instead of berating yourself for failing, offer yourself encouragement and remind yourself that everyone fails at some point. It's part of being human, and it doesn't make you any less worthy of success. The fear of failure often holds people back from pursuing their dreams. They worry that if they fail, it will be the end of the road, the end of their chances, or that they'll never recover from it. But the truth is, the greatest opportunities for growth lie just beyond failure. Every time you try something new and fail, you've taken a step toward mastery. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a crucial part of it. If you look at the most successful people in any field, you'll see that they didn't get to where they are by avoiding failure. They got there by failing, learning, and trying again. They used failure as a stepping stone, not as an obstacle. Failure also helps you redefine success. Sometimes we get so caught up in our idea of what success should look like that we forget to appreciate the progress we've made, even if it doesn't align with our initial expectations. Failure gives us the chance to reassess our goals, reframe our idea of success, and recognize that success isn't always linear. Sometimes success isn't about getting it right the first time. It's about persistence, growth, and the willingness to keep going despite setbacks. Failure encourages you to look at success from a broader perspective and to recognize that every step, even the ones that feel like failures, is a valuable part of your journey. It's also important to remember that failure is not always permanent. Just because you fail at something today doesn't mean you'll fail forever. Confidence doesn't come from always being right. It comes from knowing that you are strong enough to keep going no matter what. It's easy to think that confidence is tied to having all the answers, making the right decisions, or never encountering mistakes. In fact, we often associate confidence with perfection. We assume that confident people are those who always know what to do, who never falter, and who seem to have everything figured out. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Confidence isn't about being right all the time or never facing challenges. True confidence comes from an inner belief that no matter how uncertain the path may be, you have the strength to keep moving forward, to keep learning, and to keep growing. The idea that confidence is linked to always being right can be incredibly limiting. It creates a pressure to never make mistakes, which can paralyze us, making us afraid to take risks or step outside our comfort zones. The reality is, no one is right all the time, and no one has all the answers. We all encounter moments of doubt, uncertainty, and confusion. But what sets confident individuals apart is their ability to keep going despite these moments. They understand that being wrong or uncertain doesn't diminish their worth or their capabilities. Instead, they recognize that each step, whether it leads to success or failure, is part of their growth. One of the key aspects of building confidence is learning to embrace uncertainty. Life is full of unknowns, and we can't always predict the outcome of our decisions. But instead of letting uncertainty hold us back, we can choose to embrace it. When you are confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way, uncertainty becomes less intimidating. You stop needing to have everything figured out before you take action. Instead, you trust that you can adapt, learn, and adjust along the way. Confidence is the belief that you can handle whatever challenges arise, even if you don't have all the answers right now.